whether it's Barack Obama trying to shame black men into voting for her, saying you're sexist, that's why you don't want to. And then this outreach, quote unquote, to men to vote. See, I'm a real man. I cry at movies and I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris. Like they're obviously sensing that there's an issue. And even on the New York Times, The Daily podcast yesterday morning, there was a little dance around, oh, it's extra hard for her because she's a woman and she's got to overcome, these inherent biases that people have against her. And to me, that smells like losing.
Yeah. So I'm working on two lists, actually. If Trump loses, what his people are going to say, why he lost, and if she loses, okay? And I compile this list not off the top of my head, but from talking to Democrats who are already worried that she's going to lose, right? So the big thing will be to blame Joe Biden for staying in the race, right? Another thing will be misogyny. Another will be racism. Another will be that the media wasn't tough enough on Trump. But what it comes back to go back on what Sean was saying, the Biden-Harris record on the issues most important to voters is unpopular. She's failed to distance herself from that. She's failed to explain how she would be a good steward of a good economy. She's failed to convince people that she's being straightforward about her policy changes. And she's not really confronted a lot of the commander-in-chief issues. That problem, that set of problems can only be dealt with by her, not by videos, not by Barack Obama, not by Bill Clinton. These things that they're trying are tactical efforts to chip away at some of her problems. But only she can address the real problems. And if they continue to say, oh, the Electoral College is a horrible thing, or oh, we're still a racist and sexist country, I think her chances of winning go down appreciably.
Well, that's what Tim Walz said. He at a fundraiser said he wants to get rid of the Electoral College. I mean, the truth is a lot of Democrats do because they often win the popular vote. Not always, but they often win the popular vote given the population of our cities, tends to lean left. And there's been a lot of polls that have shown they want to get rid of it, but it's never going to happen given what you'd have to do to the Constitution to get rid of it. So yeah, Tim Walz was at a fundraiser and said this, and then he was asked about the fact that he said it. And again, like didn't it's very easy to say, you know what, the polls show a majority of Americans are with me. But, obviously, given the hurdles to getting it done, it's a pipe dream. But this is why I believe in it. I mean, that would have been a fine answer. But here's what he said instead.
I want to go back to something you said on Tuesday. You said, I think all of us know the Electoral College needs to go. But the campaign came out later that night, and they said that's not their stance.
Yeah. Well, it's not the campaign's position. And the point I'm trying to make is that there's folks that feel every vote must count in every state. Mm-hmm. And I think some of folks feel that's not the case. Our campaign does that. And the point I'm saying is I'm in 5 states in 2 days. We're out there making the case that the campaign's position is clear, that that's not their position. Their position and my position is to make sure that everybody understands their vote, no matter what state they're in, matters.
So that's something that you and Vice President Harris disagree on?
I have spoken about it in the past, that she's been very clear on this, and the campaign, and my position is the campaign's position.
I mean, once again, he's got his broom out, and he's doing his cleanup in aisle 7, guys.
Well, can I just 2 things? One, he needs to get his pronouns right? He keeps like the campaign, they, them. It's his campaign. It's Harris Waltz. So let's get your pronouns straight. It's your campaign. It's not they, them. So the idea that somehow he's like, yeah, I checked with they, them later, and I guess that's not one of our positions doesn't make a ton of sense. That's the first thing. The second thing is, look, this goes back to what we've all been saying. The number 1 and number 2 issues are the economy, inflation, all that subset that goes with it, and the immigration issue, right? And what is he talking about? The Electoral College. Dude, they cannot just get on message, answer the mail. People care about this. They're Kamala curious because they want to know what you'll do. They know who Trump is, and they're willing to give her a shot. And they're like, how about we talk about paint drying? Would you like to hear about paint drying? They will talk about anything except for the issues that matter and what would give them a shot. It is mind-blowing to me how tone deaf these guys are when it comes to the issues that matter to voters.
I was a Democratic fundraiser for 10 years. I spent a lot of time in, people's living rooms and kitchens. This is the classic case of it's big in the base, right? They're trying to convince themselves like we really would win if the rules were fair. And he just put out there, playing to them. It's ridiculous. There's 30 days left. You're down in the race. It's super close. To Sean's point, there are issues that voters are at the top of their mind that could help you persuade people. And this is just kind of living in the Democratic base, fantasy world of, patting themselves on the back that if the rules were fair in their opinion, we'd win. It's ridiculous.
It's true. I told the audience last year, my then 8th grade boy debated this very issue at school. Should we keep the electoral college? Shouldn't we? That's fine. That's exactly where that debate belongs. Not in the last 25 days of the actual presidential race, Tim Waltz. You mentioned how the blame game will go, Mark Halperin, and I agree with you to some extent.
Hey, Megyn, what side was your son on, by the way, just out of curiosity?
Keep the electoral college or we're
Good
going to break
him.
up the union.
All right.
Yeah. And I do think that there will be internal factions on both sides that are like this. So if she loses, you're going to have a large portion of Democrats saying it shouldn't have been her. I wrote an op-ed. I said we should have an open primary. She's not the strongest for the job. And they'll be pointing the finger at the other side of the Democratic Party that pushed, the responsible for the so-called coup, right? And on the Republican side, it'll be the same. We told you Trump couldn't do it. His negatives are too high. We should have done DeSantis, whatever. So there's going to be infighting with either party. But I do think on the Dem side, it's going to be very hard to get past Kamala Harris's unique flaws and challenges as a candidate, as a communicator. This show encourages honest conversations, which is not always easy in today's media environment with big tech companies deciding who and what gets amplified and censored. But there is a new platform that prioritizes free speech and transparency without controlling the narrative, and it's called Ground News. Ground News is an app and a website that aggregates related articles from around the world, highlighting each source's political bias and corporate influence. Ground News reveals for every single story how media narratives are shaping the conversation and who's covering the topic. It makes it easier to navigate the news and may even be helpful to you for the next time your liberal friends send you a headline from their favorite biased news source. They're offering our viewers 40% off their Vantage plan, which gives you unlimited access to their website and app. Ground News is independent and supported by subscribers, not corporate interests. So check them out at groundnews.com/Megyn. That's ground, GROUND news.com/MEGYN. Groundnews.com/Megyn. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.